Today, I'm going to review what many have called the Jesus phone, the God phone. It's Google's response to the iPhone 4S and other phones. This is the Galaxy Nexus. Now, you see, I have a third phone here, and there's a really good reason for that. This Galaxy Nexus, in fact, if you look at the three phones together, these, by the way, are this is the unlocked GSM version that I got from England a little while ago. And this, actually, it's vice versa. Let's flip them around. This is the GSM version, and this is the Verizon version. In fact, there's one pretty significant difference. The Verizon version, because it is 4G and working on the Verizon 4G network, is both thicker and heavier by a little bit, so they can incorporate more battery. The reason I've got this phone on here is because essentially there's a lot in common. This is the Samsung Galaxy S2, which was the previous Jesus phone. They change every few months. The Galaxy S2 is running, of course, Gingerbread, the older version of Android. And the thing that people are most excited about with this Nexus is it's running Ice Cream Sandwich, Android 4.0. And there's some things that I really like about this phone. But, you know, in the last analysis, I'm not sure if it's enough to make you want to go out and buy it. Let me talk about it. First of all, a very big screen, 4.65 inches, and more importantly, a very high screen resolution. This is the first 1280 by 720p phone. That means this phone can play back high-definition 720p content in native resolution. That's pretty amazing. But they did make a sacrifice to get that high screen resolution and the more than 300 dots per inch. This is a pentile display. Now, this is going to sound pretty techy, but it frankly makes a big difference. This Galaxy S2 has a Super AMOLED Galaxy display. The Samsung's been very famous for these very high quality, very rich black, deep dark displays, and they just look fantastic. The blacks are very black. It's a lower resolution display, though. And in order to get the higher resolution, Samsung had to go to a technology called pentile. It's a little different. Each pixel is actually split into three, red, green, and blue. And I hate to say it, but you can actually see it. Especially on expanses of single color like white or black, the pixels become obvious, and I think it really hurts the overall display quality. It also, the super high resolution can be a problem for applications that aren't resolution aware. This is the very nice Path app, which I love, but you can barely read the text on this because it's so fine. The good news is it's very crisp. It's anti-aliased. They've got a lot of dots to work with, but you're going to have to put your reading glasses on to see this. There are some nice features in the new Ice Cream Sandwich operating system, but there's also features that I've really come to hate. For one thing, instead of having fixed buttons as they have on all previous Android phones, in some cases physical, in some cases like this, they're electronic, the buttons are on screen in Ice Cream Sandwich. I guess the idea was that you could rotate the screen and reposition the buttons. They never do that. The worst case is in the camera application where the buttons turn into three dots, but they're in the same position. They take up screen real estate. They're not easy to find. And worse, they've moved the search button off. It's up here at the top with this widget, which is always on screen, the Google search widget. Google, at least on the Google Experience phones, which this is a phone unmodified by carrier or manufacturer, will always have this Google box at the top for Google branding, and that is now the search button. That's bad for application developers because it means they won't have a standard physical search button on the phone at all times. They'll have to figure out where to put the search button. It won't be visible. It'll go away. Notice I was using the voice commands. The voice commands on this are actually better, and I found the dictation extremely accurate. They've also changed how dictation works. It types as you go. So let me see if I can add a text message here and start dictating it. The dictation button, as usual, is on the keyboard. I'll press it. And as I talk to the phone, it immediately does need a connection for this, but it immediately starts typing out the dictation. That's great. It's better even than the iPhone Siri because not only is it just as accurate, but I can make corrections as soon as something goes wrong. And for me, that saves a lot of time. This is a huge improvement, one of several in Ice Cream Sandwich that I really like. I don't like the repositioning the buttons. I don't like the soft buttons, but they have done a nice job on the dictation. A couple of other things that are really great. The browser is much improved. On other Android phones, I've always used third-party browsers like Dolphin or Xscope. This new browser is fantastic. I pull it down to see the windowing. The windowing is right here. Instead of tabs, I have actual thumbnails of each page. I can add a new thumbnail by pressing the plus button. But there is something you'll notice that does bug me. The menu button is right up here. See those 3 dots? It's like a sideways ellipsis. That's the menu button. The menu button moves all over the place. Sometimes it's at the bottom, sometimes it's at the top. It's very confusing. I think soft buttons are not a good idea, and I really regret Google's choice to go with them in Ice Cream Sandwich. Another thing, one other feature that I do like about Ice Cream Sandwich is the settings are much better organized. You see now we have wireless and networks, we have device, we have personal, we have system. Much easier to find the setting you want, and I think this setting for data usage is fantastic. You can set a mobile data limit, let's say 5 gigabytes. It'll warn you when you get close. It'll turn off background data when you hit it. This is a great way to manage if you have a carrier, as most of us do, that limits the amount of data you can use per month. So there it is. That's the Galaxy Nexus phone. The pros are it's a Google Experience phone. There's no carrier adaptation. There are no additional apps on it. It's using the latest Google Android. In fact, it's the only phone so far to use 4.0. So if you're a developer, especially, you're going to want it. It also means Google will be faster to update these. You'll probably always be using the latest version of Android, at least for the next couple of years. The camera application is much improved. Very fast, built-in panorama capability, excellent quality. Oddly enough, the hardware is not as good as the Galaxy S2. It's only a 5-megapixel camera. The Galaxy S2 has an 8-megapixel camera. Better software, worst hardware. The phone battery life is pretty good. I have noticed a couple of things. One is it can get pretty hot. I didn't notice that on the Galaxy S2. And I have had, and this might just be this phone, not in general. I haven't heard enough people talking about it yet to know if this is for real. But I've had this freeze on me now twice in just 2 days, a hard crash that I actually had to pull the battery to get the phone going again. I've seen that kind of behavior on other Android phones. It's not unusual, I'm sad to say. I do hope the Galaxy Nexus isn't going to suffer from that. Try it, buy it, don't buy it. I hate to say it. This is the hottest phone on the market today. And for the price, $300, that's what Verizon's charging with a new 2-year contract, I just can't recommend it. If you want a good phone with Android on it, I'd say go with the Galaxy S2. To me, this is the best phone out there right now, especially the best Android phone. They've already promised all the carriers that they're going to update this to 4.0. You may not want to rush. I like having physical buttons. I like having a search button on the bottom. I just think it's easier to use. I don't think Ice Cream Sandwich is such a big improvement. So if you're looking for the best Android phone, the Galaxy S2 gets my recommendation. Sad to say, don't buy it on the Galaxy Nexus. That's it for our edition of Before You Buy. Our first show, I know there have been some rough edges. We're going to make some changes in the way we produce it. Of course, we like to think of it as a beta version of the show, but I do hope you enjoy it, and I hope you'll email us and let us know what you think about it. What should we use as an email address? Should we use byb@twit.tv? Let's do it. We'll set that up, and by this time tomorrow, we'll have it ready to go. byb@twit.tv. You will be able to subscribe to this show. We're setting up the podcast feeds now. It will be a podcast right out of the box with both audio and video versions, high and low quality. So stay tuned for information on that. You'll find it at twit.tv. And I think we plan to shoot this every Thursday at about 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern time. I know that's a little late for our viewers around the world. If I do my math right, it is in the middle of some other time period in the rest of the world. Let's see. It's 8 plus 18 it's 2 in the morning UTC, 0200 UTC if you want to watch the show. Better you download it. twit.tv/BYB. Thanks to our reviewers. You're going to see many of the TWiT staffers do reviews. Ayaz Akhtar from Tech News Today. From All About Android, Eileen Rivera. Tony Wang, one of our esteemed editors and one of our longest employees. And who am I missing? Tom Merritt. He works here. He's the host of Tech News Today. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time on Before You Buy.